The phone continued to ring incessantly. I watched it vibrate against the marble countertop, the name Work Miller flashing across the screen for the third time in just 5 minutes. Upstairs, the shower was still running, steam likely clouding the glass doors. I could hear my husband Jake humming that familiar off-key tune he always sang when he thought no one was listening. My hand hovered over the phone, hesitating. He had been receiving these calls frequently, always stepping out of the room, always wearing that tight smile that never quite reached his eyes whenever I inquired about who it was. Just work stuff, babe. You know how Miller gets about the quarterly reports. The ringing suddenly ceased, only to start again almost immediately. A chill slithered down my spine. This wasn't normal. Work doesn't call 4 times in a row at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. With a pounding heart that thudded against my ribs, I picked up the phone, my thumb hovering over the answer button. I answered, "Hi, Daddy. Mommy says we can go to the park today if you come home early." The voice on the other end was small, sweet, and innocent, a child's voice filled with excitement and trust. My entire world seemed to tilt sideways. "Hello?" The voice came again, now tinged with uncertainty. "Daddy?" My mouth opened, yet no sound escaped. The bathroom upstairs had fallen silent. The water had stopped. "Is Daddy there?" Another voice, older and feminine, pierced through with concern. A woman had taken the phone. "Who is this?" With trembling fingers, I ended the call. The phone slipped from my grasp, clattering against the countertop, the sound echoing ominously through our kitchen. The kitchen, where we had cooked together just last night, where it was the same place where he had kissed my forehead and told me he loved me, where we had laughed about the burnt garlic bread and decided to order pizza instead. I heard footsteps on the stairs. In a panic, I grabbed the phone and placed it back exactly where it had been, screen down, then stumbled backward toward the coffee maker. My hands shook so violently that I could barely hold on to the mug. Coffee sloshed over the rim, scalding my fingers, but I didn't register the pain. "Morning, beautiful," Jake's voice greeted me, warm and familiar, the same voice that had whispered vows to me 5 years ago. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, pressing a gentle kiss to my neck. His skin was warm from the shower, carrying the scent of the sandalwood soap I had gifted him for Christmas. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to breathe. "Warning," I whispered, almost inaudibly. His phone buzzed once, a text message. He pulled away, and I felt the shift immediately, the subtle tension in his shoulders, the way his hand moved too quickly to grab it. "Work?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. "Yeah." He smiled at me, that same smile I had trusted for 5 years. "Miller's losing his mind about Monday's presentation. I might need to head into the office for a few hours." The office? Or the park with the child who had called him Daddy? "Okay," I replied softly. He kissed my forehead and disappeared into his study. Alone in our kitchen, with coffee cooling in my hands, I felt the first crack spiderweb through the foundation of everything I had believed was real. That little voice echoed in my mind, "Hi, Daddy," and I knew, with a certainty that resided deep within my bones, that my life as I knew it was already over. I just hadn't yet grasped how deep the betrayal ran, or how far I was willing to pay for it. Before we continue, please let us know in the comments which country you are watching this video from. We love connecting with our global family. And if this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe. Your support enables us to bring you even more epic tales of revenge. Enjoy listening. During the first 3 days following the phone call, I didn't confront him. I didn't scream, cry, or hurl his belongings onto the lawn as every instinct urged me to do. Instead, I transformed into someone I barely recognized, someone cold, calculating, and patient. I observed him, really observed him, for the first time in months, maybe even years. All those small details I had previously ignored suddenly snapped into sharp focus. I noticed how he angled his phone away from me when he typed, how he had begun going to the gym 3 times a week despite having once despised exercise. There was the new cologne, the fresh haircut every 2 weeks instead of his usual monthly trim. "You look nice," I had said absently, and he smiled. "Trying to stay attractive for my wife," he joked, pulling me close. I had melted into that kiss, believing him, realizing just how foolish I had been. On Monday, he left for work at 7:30. I waited exactly 15 minutes, then followed him. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white as I kept 3 cars back, just like they do in the movies. It felt surreal, as though I were watching myself from outside my body. This wasn't my life. I trusted him. We were happy, except we weren't. Happiness had been a carefully constructed lie, and I had been too comfortable to notice the cracks forming beneath the surface. He didn't head to his office downtown as I had believed. Instead, he drove north toward the suburbs we had often talked about moving to someday. "When we have kids," he'd always said, "when we're ready to start our family." The irony of his words tasted like acid on my tongue. He pulled into the driveway of a 2-story colonial with blue shutters and a swing set in the yard. A swing set. My vision blurred as I parked down the street, partially concealed behind a landscaping truck. The front door opened before he even reached it. She was beautiful. Blonde where I was dark, tall and willowy in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, and so young. God, she couldn't have been more than 25. She smiled at him, radiant and trusting, and he kissed her. Not just a peck, but a real kiss, the kind that spoke of familiarity, affection, and routine, the kind of kiss that belonged to me. A little girl burst through the door behind them, maybe 5 years old, with dark hair and pigtails, wearing a pink jacket. She threw herself at Jake's legs, and he scooped her up, spinning her around. Her laughter rang out across the quiet street, piercing and pure. I watched my husband, carry another man's child. No, he carried his child into a house that wasn't ours, with a woman who wasn't me, living a life that existed simultaneously with our marriage. How long had this been happening? The door closed behind them. I sat in my car, staring at that house with its cheerful blue shutters, its white picket fence, and its damn swing set. And something inside me died. That part of me that had once believed in goodness, trust, and forever was replaced by something else, something hard, hungry, and ruthless. I pulled out my phone and began taking pictures. The house, the address, the license plate of the silver minivan parked in the driveway. A minivan? Jesus Christ! He had bought her a family car while he drove the BMW we'd saved 2 years to afford. Then I went home and started digging. Our home office had always belonged to Jake. I used the laptop in the living room for my freelance graphic design work, while he needed the office for his high-pressure finance job that required confidential client files and secure systems. More lies, such carefully constructed lies. I had never snooped before, never felt the need to. What kind of marriage required rummaging through your partner's belongings? A broken one, I realize now, or perhaps a fake one. His computer was password protected, but I knew Jake. He was smart about some things, careless about others. I tried our anniversary. Wrong. My birthday. Wrong. His birthday. Wrong again. Then, on a hunch that made my stomach twist, I tried the little girl's birthday, or what I guessed it might be based on her age. I navigated back 5 years in the calendar on his phone, which I had memorized the passcode to long ago. His old college football number never changed. March 15th, 5 years ago. He had told me he was attending a week-long conference in Seattle. I had felt disappointed, as it was close to our anniversary, but I had been understanding. Always so understanding. I typed in 0315. The computer unlocked. The scream that had built in my throat died there, trapped behind clenched teeth. I had to stay quiet, stay calm. I couldn't fall apart yet, not until I knew everything. His email was a labyrinth of deception, 2 separate accounts. One for his real work, mundane and boring. The other was an entire life I knew nothing about. Emails to my darling Helen dating back 6 years. 6! We had been married for 5. He had been with her longer than he had been faithful to me. I scrolled through the messages with trembling hands, my eyes scanning words that branded themselves into my brain. Can't wait to see you and Emma this weekend. Tell our princess that Daddy will bring her that dollhouse she wanted. I'm sorry I can't be there for her birthday party. You know how difficult it is to get away, but I'll make it up to her, to both of you. I love you. Helen, you're my everything. You and Emma are my real family. I just need more time to figure out how to leave without losing everything financially. The prenup her father made me sign is ironclad. But soon, my love, soon we'll be together full-time. The prenup, of course. My father had insisted on it despite my protests. Protect yourself, sweetheart, he had said. You never really know someone. I had been embarrassed, thinking it showed a lack of faith. My father had been right. Jake hadn't stayed with me for love. He had stayed for money, my family's money. The trust fund I had inherited, the portfolio my father had built. Jake had access to the lifestyle, but not the assets. If we divorced, he would leave with exactly what he had brought into the marriage, nothing. So he had simply built a second life, had his cake, and eaten it too. The room spun. I gripped the desk until my knuckles ached, until the pain centered me. I took screenshots. Every email, every photo, and there were photos, family pictures of the 3 of them at the beach during Christmas, Emma perched on Jake's shoulders, all of them smiling as if they were the only people in the world who mattered. There were financial records too. He had been funneling money to Helen, not in large amounts. He was too clever for that. I would have noticed sizable withdrawals. But instead, he had carefully hidden small sums in cash withdrawals, labeled as client lunches, office expenses, and gym memberships. Over 6 years, it added up to tens of thousands of dollars. My money used to build his other family. I discovered the deed to a house purchased 4 years ago in Helen's name, but the down payment had come from an account Jake had opened secretly. I traced it back through bank statements saved on his computer. He had been skimming from our joint account, from the household budget I had never monitored closely because I had trusted him completely. What a fool I had been. What a blindly trusting fool. There were more emails, recent ones. My vision narrowed as I read. She's getting suspicious. I think she's been quiet lately, watching me. I might need to pull back on visits for a few weeks. He knew. On some level, he would sense the shift in me. Helen's response was heartbreaking. We miss you so much. Emma keeps asking when Daddy's coming home. I hate lying to her, telling her you're on business trips. When are you going to tell her, your wife? We can't keep living like this, Jake. I need you here. Emma needs her father full-time. You promised me you'd find a way. His reply, sent yesterday, was chilling. I know, baby. I know. I'm working on it. Maybe if I can make her think the marriage is failing naturally. If she's the one who wants to leave, I could play the heartbroken husband, keep some sympathy points with her family. Let me handle this. Trust me, let me handle this. He was scheming to manipulate me into leaving him, making me believe it was my idea so he could play the victim, potentially maintaining some financial connection to my family through sympathy while he ran off to his real family. I sank back in his chair, surrounded by the evidence of his double life, and felt something shift fundamentally within me. The hurt was still there, a gaping wound that would likely never fully heal. But beneath it, growing stronger with each breath, was rage, pure, crystalline, focused rage. He had stolen years from me. He had made me doubt my own perception of reality. He had slept in our bed, whispering sweet lies while maintaining an entire family in the suburbs. He had used my money to do it. And now he was planning to gaslight me into thinking that our marriage failing was somehow mutual, somehow natural. No, he didn't get to write this ending. He didn't get to control this narrative any longer. I was taking that power back. I copied everything to a secure cloud drive, every email, every photo, every financial record. Then I cleared the browser history and shut down the computer, leaving everything exactly as I had found it. I walked downstairs on legs that felt disconnected from my body. In the mirror by the front door, I barely recognized myself. My face was pale, my eyes hollowed out. I looked like a ghost. Maybe I was. The woman I had been just 3 days ago no longer existed. I picked up my phone and made a call. "Daddy," my voice cracked. "I need your help, and I need you not to ask me questions yet. Can you recommend a private investigator? The best one you know." There was a pause. My father was a corporate attorney, sharp and experienced. He had probably been expecting this call for years. "I'll text you a name and number," he said quietly. "Whatever you need, sweetheart. Whatever you need." I hung up and stared at the family photo on the wall, our wedding day. Jake looked so happy, gazing at me as if I were his entire world. Had any of it been real, even in the beginning? I took the photo off the wall and smashed the frame against the floor. Glass scattered across the hardwood, glittering like broken stars. That felt good, but it wasn't enough. By the time Jake came home that evening, smelling like her perfume and lies, I was calm. I had made dinner, set the table, and smiled at him as if everything were normal. I kissed his cheek and asked about his day. "Stressful," he said, loosening his tie, "but better now that I'm home with you." I watched him eat the pasta I had prepared, listened to him weave elaborate stories about meetings that never happened, and I matched him smile for smile, lie for lie. "I love you," he said, reaching across the table for my hand. "I love you too," I replied. The words tasted like poison, but I swallowed them down and began planning his destruction. The private investigator my father recommended was a woman named Rebecca Torres. She met me at a coffee shop across town, somewhere Jake would never go. In her 40s, sharp-eyed with silver threading through her dark hair, she said, "Tell me everything," her voice professional yet not unkind, and so I did. I showed her the screenshots, the photos I had taken of the house, everything I had uncovered. She listened without judgment, diligently taking notes on a tablet. "What do you want from this investigation?" she asked when I finished. "Just documentation for divorce proceedings, or something more comprehensive?" "Everything," I said. The word escaped my lips sharper than I had intended. "I want to know every detail of his life that he's hidden from me, every lie, every deception. I want to know who else knows. I want to understand exactly how deep this goes." Rebecca studied me for a long moment. "That kind of comprehensive investigation isn't cheap." "Money isn't an object," I replied firmly. She nodded slowly. "All right, give me 2 weeks. I'll find out everything there is to know." She was true to her word. 12 days later, we met again, and she slid a thick folder across the table to me. "It's worse than you thought," she said, simply. I opened the folder. Inside was a complete dossier of Jake's double life, documented with a level of detail that made my stomach churn. Helen Bennett, age 26. They had met at a bar 6 years ago while I had been out of town visiting my sick grandmother. He had been wearing his wedding ring. She had known from the start that he was married. According to Rebecca's interviews with Helen's friends, conducted under the guise of a background check for a job application, Helen had believed Jake's story that he was in a loveless marriage, trapped by a prenup, staying for financial stability until he could find a way out. She had believed she was the love of his life, that Emma was the child he had always wanted, and that eventually he would leave me to create a real family with her. She was as much a victim of his lies as I was. Almost. At least she had known I existed. The timeline was devastating. He had started the affair 2 months before our wedding, even seriously calling it off. According to text messages that Rebecca had managed to recover from an old phone account, everything began to unravel. But then my grandmother had passed, leaving me a substantial inheritance. And suddenly, Jake was back, smiling, enthusiastic about our future together. Emma had been born just 4 months after our wedding. He told me he was on a business trip, but in reality, he had been at the hospital, holding Helen's hand, cutting his daughter's umbilical cord. Our 5th anniversary had been celebrated at an expensive restaurant where he had gifted me diamond earrings and renewed our vows in a private moment that had brought me to tears of happiness. Just 2 days earlier, he had been at Emma's 5th birthday party, playing the devoted father. Every significant moment of our marriage, he had been living a parallel life. The financial records were damning. He had stolen over $60,000 from our joint accounts over the years. Small amounts, carefully disguised, but theft nonetheless. Yet, Rebecca had found something else, something that made my blood run cold. "He's been looking at flights to Costa Rica," she said, pointing to a printout of his search history. "And he's been researching how to open offshore accounts. I think he's planning to run." I looked up sharply. "What?" "The emails with Helen have gotten more urgent lately. She's pressuring him to commit. He's running out of excuses. I think he's realized that divorcing you legitimately won't work. The prenup is airtight. He won't get anything, and he's too proud to be seen as the broke guy who lost everything. So he's considering just disappearing with her, with them." Rebecca nodded. "There's a deleted email I was able to recover from his trash folder. He told Helen he's working on a plan, that he might have access to a one-time opportunity that would set them up for life. Then they could disappear together, start over somewhere new." My mind raced. What opportunity? What was he planning? Then it hit me. My father's firm was in the midst of a major merger, and my husband Jake had been peripherally involved in some of the social aspects. Dinners with clients, parties with investors. He had met some of the key players. "He's going to try to steal from my father's company," I said slowly, "or commit some kind of fraud using information he's gathered through me." Rebecca's expression turned grim. That would be my guess. I flagged some suspicious emails to an encrypted account. He's definitely planning something, and whatever it is, he's planning to do it soon and run. He wasn't just betraying me. He was poised to betray my family, potentially ruin my father's reputation, and disappear with his other family to live off stolen money. The sheer scope of his sociopathy was breathtaking. "What do you want to do?" Rebecca asked quietly. I closed the folder, my hands steady. That initial shock and grief had crystallized into something harder, something unbreakable. "I want to destroy him," I said clearly. "Not just divorce him, not just expose him. I want to take everything from him the way he's taken everything from me. I want him to lose it all. Helen, Emma, his freedom, his future, everything." Rebecca didn't flinch. "I can't help you do anything illegal." "I don't need illegal," I replied. "I just need methodical." I needed to strike at him from every angle before he even realized what was happening. "Can you keep monitoring him? Let me know when he's planning to make his move." She considered this for a moment. "I can do that, but be careful. Men like him can be dangerous when they feel cornered." "So can I," I replied, a steely determination in my voice. I paid her in cash and left with the folder tucked under my arm. That night, while Jake was in the shower, always in the shower, washing away the evidence of his other life, I sat in our bedroom, meticulously planning his complete annihilation. He wanted to steal from my family? Fine, let him try. I would ensure he was caught red-handed. He wanted to abandon me and play happy family? I would make sure Helen knew the entire truth about who she was planning a future with. He wanted to disappear without facing consequences? I would ensure those consequences followed him for the rest of his life. This wasn't going to be a simple divorce. This was going to be a systematic dismantling of everything he had built, everything he had lied for, everything he had stolen. Jake emerged from the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist, smiling at me. "You look deep in thought," he remarked. "Just thinking about the future," I replied, returning his smile. "Yeah? What about it?" "Just wondering what surprises it might hold." He laughed and kissed the top of my head. Right. But we wouldn't be together. Soon, very soon, he would be facing them all alone. And I was going to make sure every single surprise cut him to the bone. 3 days later, Rebecca called me. "He's making his move," she said without preamble. "Tomorrow night, there's a charity gala your father's firm is hosting." "Jake told Helen he's going with you, but that he'll take care of everything that night," Rebecca said. "I hacked his email. Don't ask how. He's planning to access a computer at the event, one belonging to a senior partner, and transfer funds from the merger escrow account to his offshore account. He's somehow collected passwords. It's ambitious and incredibly stupid, but if he pulls it off before anyone notices, he could disappear with almost $2 million. $2 million from my father's firm. He's willing to potentially ruin my father, the man who welcomed him into our family, who tried to mentor him in business, who gave him chance after chance to prove himself worthy of his daughter." "Can we stop the transfer?" I asked, my mind already racing. "We could alert your father, have the passwords changed." "No, let him do it." There was silence on the other end. "Then what?" "Let him initiate the transfer, but make sure it's traced. Ensure every digital footprint leads directly back to him, and make sure it's caught before the money actually moves, so the theft is attempted but not successful. I want him arrested at the gala in front of everyone. That's risky. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. Can you loop in my father? He'll need to coordinate with the firm's cybersecurity team." Another pause. "You're sure about this?" "Completely." "All right, I'll set it up. But there's something else you should know." My stomach tightened. "What?" "Helen's pregnant. About 3 months along. She hasn't told Jake yet. I found a positive pregnancy test in her bathroom trash and confirmed it with her doctor's office. She's planning to tell him after he handles everything with you. Another baby." He was going to have another child while still married to me. The room tilted, and I sat down hard on the edge of the bed. "Are you okay?" Rebecca asked, concern lacing her voice. "Fine, I'm fine. This doesn't change anything. It makes it even more crucial that we do this right, because now there would be 2 children growing up with Jake as a father figure, 2 children who would learn from his example. Emma already called him daddy, trusted him, loved him. Would he do to them what he had done to me? Would he teach his daughters that lying, cheating, and stealing were acceptable if he wanted something badly enough? I wouldn't let that happen. "One more thing," I said to Rebecca. "I need you to compile everything we have, all the evidence of the affair, the financial theft from our joint accounts, everything, and I need you to deliver it to Helen the morning after the gala." "You want her to know?" "I want her to know exactly who she's been sleeping with, who the father of her children is. I want her to have a chance to make an informed decision about her future. She deserves that much, even if she did sleep with a married man." "All right," Rebecca said. "It'll be done." I hung up and called my father. "Rebecca Torres is going to contact you," I said. "Listen to everything she says. Dad, tomorrow night at the gala, no matter what happens, no matter how bad it looks, trust me." "Okay, sweetheart, what's going on?" "Justice," I said softly. Justice is going on. The night of the gala, I wore red, a scarlet dress that hugged every curve, with a neckline that was just shy of scandalous. I had my hair professionally styled, and my makeup was applied by an expert. I looked devastatingly beautiful, powerful. Jake's eyes widened when he saw me. "Wow," he said, astonished. "You look... wow, thank you." I smiled. I wanted to look special tonight. It feels like an important evening. It's just a work thing for your dad. Still important. The gala was held at the Riverside Hotel, a glittering affair adorned with crystal chandeliers and champagne flowing freely. I stayed close to Jake throughout the cocktail hour, playing the perfect wife. I laughed at his jokes, affectionately touched his arm, and smiled at his colleagues, all while keeping an eye on him as he scanned the room, calculating, planning. Around 9 o'clock, he excused himself to the restroom. I watched as he veered off toward the administrative offices instead. I gave him 5 minutes before I followed. The hallway was empty and dimly lit. Through the window of one of the offices, I could see Jake's silhouette hunched over a computer, typing frantically. My father's head of security, Tom Briggs, stood beside me in the shadows. Rebecca had coordinated everything. "The transfer's initiating now," Tom murmured, listening intently through an earpiece connected to the cybersecurity team. "They're tracing it in real time. Got him. The offshore account is registered to a shell company in Jake's name. We have everything we need." "Wait until he finishes," I whispered. "Let him think he's succeeded." We watched as Jake typed a few more commands. Then he sat back, exhaled, and smiled. Actually smiled. Triumphant, relieved. He thought he had won. Thought he was about to escape with $2 million, run off to Costa Rica with Helen and Emma and the new baby, and live happily ever after. "Now," I said. Seconds later, police officers appeared at both ends of the hallway. Tom opened the office door. "Step away from the computer, please." Jake spun around, his face going white at the sight of the police. Then, when he noticed me standing in the hallway, confusion flooded his features. "Babe, what's going on? I was just..." "You were just attempting to embezzle $1.8 million from my father's firm," I said calmly, "using passwords you collected over the past 6 months and an offshore account you opened 3 weeks ago. The cybersecurity team has been monitoring you since you logged in, every keystroke documented." "What? Oh, that's insane. I was just checking email." "Save it for your lawyer." I glanced at the police officers. "He's all yours." They moved in, reading Jake his rights as they handcuffed him. He kept looking at me, shock and betrayal etched across his face. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. "How could you do this?" he asked as they led him past me. "I'm your husband." I met his eyes. "No, you were my husband when you married me and meant those vows. You stopped being my husband the first time you slept with her. You became nothing to me except a problem that needed solving." Understanding dawned on him. "You know about Helen, about Emma, about the baby she's carrying, about every lie you've told for the past 6 years. I know everything, Jake, everything." His face crumbled, but not with remorse. I recognized that look well enough now. It was defeat. He knew he had lost. They took him away. I stood in that hallway, in my red dress and perfect makeup, and felt absolutely nothing. The woman who would have cried, who would have fallen apart, was long gone. My father appeared beside me, placing a steadying hand on my shoulder. "You did what you had to do," he said quietly. "I'm not done yet," I replied. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't face our house, our bed, the life we had pretended to share. Instead, I checked into a hotel and lay awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for morning. At 8 a.m., Rebecca called. The package was delivered to Helen's house 10 minutes ago. Certified mail, signature required. She has everything. Thank you. There's something else. Jake made bail, posted at 6 a.m. I have someone watching both locations, your house and Helen's. He went to Helen's. Of course he did. His real family, the people he actually cared about. Let me know if he goes anywhere else, I said. I spent the day meeting with divorce attorneys, choosing the most aggressive one, a shark of a woman named Patricia Klein, who promised to make the proceedings as painful as possible for Jake. With the prenup, the evidence of theft, plus the affair, he won't get a penny, Patricia said, reviewing the documents I provided. In fact, you can probably sue him for the money he stole from your joint accounts, plus emotional damages. Do it. All of it. There's the matter of his arrest. If he's convicted of embezzlement, when he's convicted, he's looking at serious prison time, federal charges, since it involves wire fraud and interstate transfers. We're talking 5 to 10 years minimum. Good. Let him rot. My phone rang. He's leaving Helen's house, she said, and Helen's throwing things at his car. Looks like she didn't take the news well at all. A grim smile touched my lips. Keep me updated. The next call came an hour later. Jake was at our house, my house, technically another thing protected by the prenup. I had already changed the locks that morning. I drove home, determined to confront him. He was sitting on the front porch steps, his head in his hands. He looked up as my car pulled into the driveway, utterly destroyed, eyes red, face haggard, still wearing the same clothes from the gala. Please, he said as I approached, please, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you, but it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I unlocked the front door. You built a second life. You stole from me, lied to me, used me, and you are planning to frame yourself as the victim while running off with money stolen from my family. What part am I misunderstanding? He followed me inside. I never meant for it to happen. Helen and I, it happened. And then Emma came, and I couldn't just abandon them. But you could abandon me. That's not fair. I stayed with you. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. You stayed for the money. Don't pretend it was anything else. The second you thought you could steal enough to live comfortably, you were ready to disappear. I love her, he said desperately. I love Helen. I love my daughter. I'm sorry, but I do. And I thought I loved you too at first. Maybe I did, but it changed and I didn't know how to stop. I held up a hand. I don't care. I genuinely do not care about your rationalizations, your feelings, or your tragic conflict between two women. You made your choices, now you live with the consequences. What consequences? You've already destroyed my life. I'm facing prison. Helen won't talk to me. She kicked me out, said she never wants to see me again. Emma was crying, asking why Mommy was so upset with Daddy. Do you have any idea what that's like? Do you have any idea what it's like to answer your husband's phone and hear another child call him Daddy? My voice was icy. Do you know what it's like to realize your entire marriage has been a performance? To discover that the man you trusted most in the world has been systematically lying to you for years? He had no answer to that. The divorce papers will be served tomorrow, I continued. You'll get nothing. And if you're smart, you'll take whatever plea deal the prosecutor offers, because if this goes to trial, I'll make sure every sordid detail comes out. Your affair, your theft, your fraud, everything. I'll be registered as a felon. I'll never get a decent job again. You should have thought of that before you tried to steal $2 million. God, you're cold. He stared at me as if I were a stranger. When did you become so cold? When you made me into someone who couldn't trust anyone. When you taught me that love is just another con. You did this, Jake. You created this version of me. I walked to the door and opened it. Get out and don't come back. If you need anything from the house, coordinate through lawyers." He stood there for a moment, looking lost. Then something shifted in his expression, anger replacing the desperation. "You think you're so perfect," he spat, "with your trust fund and your daddy's connections. You've never struggled for anything in your life, never had to fight. Helen understood me. She didn't judge me for wanting more, for wanting better." "Helen thought you were getting divorced," I said flatly. "She thought she was building a future with you. But sure, tell yourself she understood you. Tell yourself whatever you need to justify what you did. It doesn't matter anymore. You're done." He left. I watched him drive away in the BMW that was registered in my name, a vehicle I had already reported as unauthorized use to the police. They'd pull him over within a few miles. I closed the door and leaned against it. The house was silent. It had probably always been empty. I just hadn't noticed. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Helen's mother just showed up at her house, moving boxes into the car. "Looks like Helen's going home to family. Thought you'd want to know." I did want to know, not because it gave me any satisfaction. Helen was a victim too, in her way, but because it meant Emma would be safe, away from Jake's influence, raised by people who would hopefully instill better values than her father possessed. Another text came through from an unknown number. "I don't know who you are, but thank you. Thank you for telling me the truth. I'm sorry for what I did. I believed his lies. I thought you were the enemy. I was wrong. Helen." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Take care of your daughters. Break the cycle. Don't let them grow up thinking this is normal." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, and then appeared again. I won't. "And for what it's worth, I really am sorry." "So am I typed back, feeling genuine remorse for all of it. I was sorry that Jake had damaged so many lives in his selfish pursuit of having everything. I deleted the number and blocked it. This chapter was closed. The divorce was finalized in record time. Jake's lawyer advised him not to contest anything, given the pending criminal charges. He signed the papers from jail, unable to make bail a second time after violating the terms of his release by harassing me. The prenup held firm. He got nothing. I received the house, the car, everything we had built together. It felt hollow, but I would take it. His trial was set for 6 months out, but his lawyer was already negotiating a plea deal. With the evidence stacked against him, digital forensics, video footage, testimony from the cybersecurity team, he had no chance of winning at trial. The prosecutor was offering 7 years, with the possibility of parole after 5 if he pleaded guilty. 7 years? He'd be 43 when he got out, middle-aged, with a felony record, no career prospects, and 2 children who would grow up knowing their father was a criminal. I should have felt vindicated, triumphant. Yet all I felt was a sense of emptiness, as if something vital had been carved out. I went to therapy. Dr. Rachel Isaac was patient, compassionate, everything I needed. "You're grieving," she explained during one session, "not just the relationship, but your sense of safety in the world, your ability to trust. That's significant trauma." "I destroyed his life," I said flatly. "I set him up. I made sure he'd lose everything. Doesn't that make me just as bad as him? Does it?" I wanted him to feel the same pain he had inflicted on me, and he was hurting, but I didn't feel better. I didn't feel anything at all. "Revenge rarely brings the closure we expect," she said gently. "You exposed the truth and protected yourself and others from further harm. Those are valid actions, but they can't undo what was done to you. Healing from betrayal takes time, longer than most people anticipate." "How long?" She smiled sadly. "As long as it takes." I sold the house. I couldn't live there anymore. I couldn't walk through the rooms where we had played house while he was planning his escape. I bought a smaller place across town, somewhere devoid of memories. My father tried to help, but I needed space from everyone who had been part of that life. I took a leave from my design work and traveled for a while, first to Europe, then to Asia. I was putting distance between my wreckage. Somewhere in Thailand, sitting on a beach and watching the sunset, I finally cried. I truly cried. Months of held-back tears came pouring out, and I sobbed into my hands, mourning everything I had lost. Not Jake, I didn't miss him, but I missed who I had been before. The woman who could trust, who could love without calculating the angles, who could sleep through the night without checking and rechecking locks. He had stolen that from me, and no amount of revenge could restore it. 2 years later, I was in a coffee shop in my new neighborhood when I saw her, Helen, older now, looking tired, with a toddler on her hip, and Emma, bigger now, maybe 7, holding her hand. Our eyes met across the room. She froze. I should have looked away. I should have pretended I hadn't seen her, but something compelled me to stand up and walk over. "Hi," I said quietly. "Hi," she replied, shifting the toddler, a little girl with Jake's dark hair, into a more comfortable position. "I didn't know you lived around here. I moved after the divorce." "Right, of course." She glanced at Emma, who was watching me with curious eyes. "Emma, honey, why don't you pick out a cookie for you and your sister? I'll be right here." Emma skipped off to the counter, and Helen turned back to me. "He's getting out next month," she said. "Early release for good behavior. His lawyer called me, wanting to know if Emma wanted a relationship with him." "What did you say?" I replied, "No, not until she's old enough to understand what he did and make her own choice. She deserves to know the truth, but she's too young to process it now. He still asks about her sometimes. I tell her, Daddy made some mistakes and has to be away for a while. That's good, honest, but age-appropriate." Helen studied me. "You're different than I imagined. When I was with him, you were this villain in my head, the cold wife who didn't understand him, who kept him trapped in a loveless marriage. But you weren't any of those things, were you?" "No, I loved him completely until I found out who he really was." "I'm sorry," she said, and this time it sounded genuine, as if she waited with real understanding for my part in it. I was young and stupid, and I believed what I wanted to believe. But that doesn't excuse sleeping with a married man, having his child while he was married to you. I'm sorry. "I forgave you a long time ago," I said, surprising myself with the sincerity behind my words. "You were lied to too. Maybe not in the same way, but he manipulated both of us." The toddler on her hip began to fuss, and Helen bounced her gently. "This is Sophie," she said. "She's almost 2. She'll never know him." "Not really. I'm okay with that. She looks happy. They both do. We're doing okay. My parents have been amazing. It's been hard, but we're building something real now, something honest." She paused, her expression shifting. "What about you? Are you okay?" I took a breath. I had started taking on design clients again. I had made a few friends in my new neighborhood. I had gone on a couple of dates, though nothing serious yet. The thought of trusting someone that deeply again still felt impossible, but I wasn't the hollowed-out shell I had been 2 years ago. I was learning to be whole again, in my own way. "I'm getting there," I said honestly. Emma came running back with 2 cookies, chattering excitedly about the sprinkles. Helen smiled at her daughters, and there was something fierce in that smile, protective. She was doing everything she could to give them a better life than the one Jake had offered. "I should go," Helen said, "but thank you for this, for not hating me." "Hating you would give him too much power. He doesn't get any more of my energy, not even hate." She nodded, understanding shining in her eyes, and gathered her daughters to leave. I watched them go, this little family built on lies, but transforming into something honest, and felt a strange sense of peace. Jake had tried to have it all. 2 families, 2 lives, stolen money, perfect escapes. And he'd ended up with nothing. No wife, no partner, no daughters who would claim him. Just a prison cell and the heavy consequences of his choices. I had thought revenge would feel triumphant, satisfying. Instead, it had felt necessary, a clearing away of debris so I could rebuild. The real victory wasn't his destruction, it was this moment. Sitting in a coffee shop in my new neighborhood, engaging in a civil conversation with the woman he had used as ammunition against me, I felt nothing but a tired relief that it was over. I had survived, more than survived. I had forced myself through the fire and emerged forged in steel. I would never be that trusting woman again. Sometimes I mourned her, but the woman I had become was stronger, harder to break, and impossible to fool. Jake had taken my innocence, my trust, my ability to love without fear. But he hadn't taken my future. That was still mine, and mine alone. I finished my coffee and stepped out into the sunshine, ready to embrace the rest of my life. And I didn't look back, not even once.